episode of Seeing Sentai. I'm Mars Girl. Today we're looking at Taiyou Sentai Sun Vulcan episodes 36 to 42. With any luck, we'll keep this pace up, and maybe we'll one day eventually catch up to where I was supposed to be, but I'm really glad to kind of be plowing through this series. Just a couple more of these vlog episodes to go before we finish up Sun Vulcan. So let me start by at least listing off the names of some of the enemies that we saw over these last 7 episodes. Both episodes 36 and 37 featured Satanmonger, followed by Totem Pole Monger, Centipede Monger, Bat Monger, Kettlemonger, and Dragonmonger. Now episodes 36 and 37 with Satanmonger, I know that's really, we're gonna touch religion here for a second, but those 2 episodes are actually really interesting because these are 2 more episodes that further carry over continuity from Denjiman. And you'll remember Queen Hedrion came originally from Denjiman. She was originally the lead villain of that series. And for the most part, she's taken up pretty high residency, really high-ranking residency among Black Magma also. Sometimes I almost forget that there's another leader above her because they focus on her so much. And she's a fantastic actress, so for good reason, I suppose. But she's getting these really terrible headaches. And I know with this actress you think, oh, Rita, she's getting terrible headaches. But no. Queen Hedrion, and these are completely different kinds of headaches, because she's getting these headaches because she can feel somebody thinking or praying who must still be a descendant from planet Denji. They then go back and focus a whole bunch on that Denjiman movie that came out back during the run of Denjiman that features Princess Denji, who came down to Earth from planet Denji to save her people. And they continuously reference that movie throughout Denjiman and a couple of times throughout this series too. So the person that's still this remaining descendant from the Denji people is a woman who has decided she wants to dedicate her life to God. She's a nun at a Catholic church, and she prays to Saint Mary all of the time, and she gets these premonitions. She's an Esper, in fact. But she has a sister who also has pretty strong Esper powers. So Queen Hedrion sends out Satanmonger to round up all of these Espers, and that includes this nun's sister, who's the most prevalent between the 2 of them, the one that puts herself out into the public eye the most, and that sister gets really hurt. But it turns out that that wasn't enough to reduce the level of headaches that Queen Hedrion was receiving. So there's still some other descendant out there who's causing these headaches, and it is in fact this nun. So that's when Satanmonger starts rounding up all of these Espers, and then we start putting them into gas chambers, guys. This is really horrific imagery, and this is something that the nun is going to predict happens to all of these Espers, including her sister, and she really doesn't want that to happen. Thankfully, somehow she's able to suddenly wield all of these powers, either thanks to Princess Denji and her lineage, or thanks to God, one of the 2. Suddenly she's able to start throwing up barriers, and she can throw fire now, but Satanmonger still hates the crucifix, so that's his one weakness, and that's how Sun Vulcan ends up getting him in the end too. So when he grows to become giant, they get inside Sun Vulcan Robo and use their weapons to make a crucifix, and that weakens him enough for them to defeat him. I just thought it's so neat that they continue to make references to this other series that came before it. I realize that not every Sentai series is going to do that, and certainly not this directly. But when they do it, it makes me so happy to know that A, they remembered, and B, they keep up this continuity between these franchises. The only thing that bothers me is kind of like what I said at the end of Denjiman, that I feel like their job wasn't done. And if they're still descendants from planet Denji, if we still have Queen Hedrion, then they didn't finish doing their job, and I wish the rest of Denjiman would kind of show up and help at some point. I know they won't, but that would sure be nice. Most of the rest of these monsters and the rest of the episodes around them aren't really all that notable. I think perhaps episode 38, for example, you get totem pole monger. The most notable thing about it is that it's a totem pole, and you wonder whether or not that's culturally insensitive, because he's definitely like a North American style totem pole. He's wearing an Indian headdress, and he's dancing around, hopping up and down on one foot, and he's throwing tomahawks. So I didn't necessarily think that the story of that episode was especially engaging. I just thought that maybe you should realize, alright, there's some insensitive stuff going on here. You be the judge of whether or not you think that's gonna be fun to watch. Really, I kind of want to skip to episode 41, where we have Kettlemonger. Now, they call him Kettlemonger, and he is kind of partially a tea kettle, but he's more a tanuki. And if you're not familiar with what a tanuki is, think of either Mario from Super Mario Bros. 3. He's got, you know, the raccoon tail, which actually it's a tanuki tail, and maybe perhaps think of Animal Crossing. Tom Nook, tanuki. This is a raccoon-looking sort of animal that is also able to shift forms, change shape, and trick people. That's what they're really known for. So that's largely what this character is. He's kind of a tea kettle and kind of a tanuki. The horrifying thing about this episode is that he uses his tea kettle self to start fanning out deadly gas that he's specifically using to target pets. In one night, he kills 200 dogs. 200 dead dogs! Granted, you don't actually see any of that happen. Thank God. So for the most part, there's really no animal cruelty, but then they're like, yeah, now we're gonna step it up to more animals, and we're gonna go to the zoo, and they start putting out all of this gas at the zoo, and you don't really see anything bad happen to the animals. You see that they got footage of animals running away as much as they could, but nobody's really doing anything to it. The only animal that they really do any manhandling of is this little bunny that they kind of put this fake cut on its leg, and then they have to doctor it back to health. But Kettlemonger transforms himself into a copy of this bunny, so now they don't know, oh, is this an innocent animal, or is it the monster of the week? We don't really know. Thankfully, they're finally able to figure it out. But, man, just the idea that not only is Black Magma willing to kill people, but now they're also willing to slaughter hundreds and hundreds of animals at any given moment in time. And they're just like, let the bloodbath begin! And you know, oh, they mean business, because surely after they were done killing all the animals in the zoo, then they were finally gonna move up to people. So they don't care what kind of life is on this planet, everything needs to die. I think that that is, at the very least, a good indication of just how terrible Black Magma actually is. And then I just want to briefly talk about episode 42, where we've got Dragonmonger, who's throwing artificial suns up into the night sky to keep people from being able to sleep, which is throwing off their sleep schedule and is really ruining their productiveness. It's causing people to drive around having no sleep at all, and then they get into car accidents, and then suddenly cars are just bursting into flame for no reason. And there's different, I don't know, energy plants or railroad stations and stuff just exploding for no really well-expressed reason, which is really, really funny looking. I really love watching both miniatures and actual full-sized cars just explode inexplicably. Those are some of my favorite shots ever, and the timing just seems so comedic. And I know they're not meant to be, but I love it. I love watching it every single time. Really, I kind of didn't understand, because this episode was focused on this little boy who falls asleep all the time. He was supposed to be the focus of the episode, but if I have to be really honest with myself, he had nothing to do with the plot of the episode at all. So really the only thing worth mentioning is exploding cars and miniatures. That was about it. Furthermore, the only other thing I really wanted to mention was that the Vulcan Ball, the thing that really performs the final attack on the enemy before it grows giant, has really kind of changed a little bit because it's now no longer just an exploding ball. Now it does other stuff. Like now, when you throw the ball out at people, take for example, there was Batmonger in one of these episodes. He could hear that ball coming from a mile away thanks to echolocation. But now the ball opens up and it's got a heat-seeking missile inside, because that's a thing that Sun Vulcan has in their arsenal now, I guess. Or take for example, in this most recent episode with Dragonmonger, the ball opened up and then a mask pops out and it attached itself to Dragonmonger's face, so when he starts trying to spit out these suns, it just locks it into that mask and explodes right in his face. Or then also take for example the episode with Teapotmonger. The ball opened up and then it was a lit lighter and it lit the monster's tail on fire. Like now the ball becomes different things. It's a little like Go Ranger, or like what they tried to make happen near the end of Jaka. Just really weird, random, stupid looking attacks, and I'm not really feeling it right now. I'm glad that this is only happening near the end of this series, but I really kind of wish it wasn't there. So those were largely the most notable things to have happened over the last 7 episodes that I watched. I'm expecting that as time goes on, especially within these next 2 vlog episodes, as we go into the next several episodes, we're gonna start seeing the plot finally start trying to wrap itself up. Maybe not within the first few episodes we're gonna get into next, but very, very shortly, because this episode is very quickly drawing to a close, and I'm so looking forward to it and moving on to the next series. So as I wrap up, I just want to give thanks once again to the Patreon contributors over at patreon.com/MarsGirl who make this and all kinds of other stuff I do possible. If you're interested in seeing how you can get your name in the credits, or see how I could perhaps do a review just for you, go ahead and check out patreon.com/MarsGirl and sign up today, and definitely let's work something out together. And thank you so much for watching as always. Can't wait to see you guys next time.
Danny is a young sci-fi writer living in the UK. Everything was going great until one day he was captured by a beautiful woman, terrifyingly hot. Her name is Morphine. And she'll make you scream. Get ready for your adrenaline.